You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning. It's Kristin and Polly with Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm Kristin. I'm an intuitive Pilates instructor and Reiki healer. As always, with me is Polly. She is a psychic medium and intuitive life coach. I'm coming to you from Southern California. Polly is fresh out of the Arizona area. What's going on there? Is it hot as can be?
Oh, welcome, or thank you so much for that nice introduction, and welcome everybody. It's hot, but it's so much better.
Really?
Yeah, and here's a little secret, maybe not a well-known secret, that as it cools down, the hawks come down from the higher places in the desert, and they come down, and so then you start seeing, like I had one that was it was huge the other day because they'd go after the birds.
Because their wingspan is pretty.
It's huge. They're huge. Yeah. So then you have like these big, it's like, dinosaurs flying through the air.
Hey, do you remember when we were in Alaska at the retreat in Homer and
Yes.
we had Tony?
Yes.
What's his Instagram? Red House Tony?
Yeah, Tony Red House. He's pretty successful Native American healer.
Yes. He's worked with the Kardashians, if you
Yes,
will.
he has.
So, and by 6 degrees of separation, we also have worked with him.
Yes, exactly.
But he was committed to finding a hawk or connecting with a hawk.
An eagle. He wanted the eagle.
An eagle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And eagles are everywhere in Alaska. Like you can't walk down the street without having an eagle fly by. So it was so funny that he was the one person that wasn't seeing them.
And he was committed to it.
He was. And that one time, like it flew because we were staying at a lodge that had like these huge windows, like looking out on the beach. That one time, flying in front of the lodge, like you couldn't miss it. But where was Tony? He was like looking the other direction. I don't know where he was. It was so funny.
Everyone's like, this is really going to fly into the living room and join us. It's gone. And he's like, well, I missed it.
It was so funny.
He did see one before it was all over, though.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God that the eagle did land. That's all we can say.
The proverbial eagle has landed.
It has landed. Hey, I want to share something really cool with you before we start.
Ooh.
Okay, so I don't know that much about crystals. I'm not a crystal guru, but
you're going to do a haul. That's what the cool kids call it. You're doing a shopping haul for us.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, and I'm not a cool kid either, but in my dreams I am. But our mutual friend, our true crystal guru, Carolyn, she delivered to my house yesterday a smoky citrine. And smoky citrine, so citrine, like real citrine, is kind of hard to come by. But this has, see all the angels. Yeah, she calls them angels. But smoky, so I've wanted citrine so long because it's abundance. Oh my God, it's such a beautiful stone. But if you combine it with the smoky, it's very, very purifying, like purifying energy, and brings in that beautiful abundance. It's such a beautiful stone. I'm just so excited. So we have that energy with us today.
Oh, I love that for us.
You know what it felt like when I unwrapped it yesterday? It felt so sweet and so nurturing. Like it's like this, it just has like a different feel to it. Like just so sweet, so nurturing, and kind of like, oh, you want that? Let me bring it to you. Like
a grandma.
Like a grandma. It's like, oh, you want that? Of course you are gonna have that. And so I'm just like, oh my God, that's just what I needed.
Yes. I'm gonna soak it up too.
Yeah, I'll bring it to the retreat, I think. So you'll be able to, you also will feel the nurturing.
I'll take it.
It's so lovely. I love it. So happy. Oh, and then the other thing, before we move on to our real topic, the moonstone for my finger, because we kind of talked about that last week, because it's such a beautiful way of connecting with the moon energies.
Zoom, let me put it up right by the camera. Let me get a good look. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, super excited about it.
That's nice.
And of course, it's by one of my favorite jewelers that does all the fun stuff.
All the
All
bling.
the fun stuff. Well, but bling with like a little with the healing properties, with the
Yes.
magic. Bling with the magic.
Magical bling.
Magical bling, yes. So
If
what's
you
new and exciting in your life?
Oh, okay. Kids are back in school now. We are officially
Hallelujah.
back at it. It's going well-ish. So this was going to be a fantastic year, and here's why. The older two are finally at the same school, and they have not been at the same school since she was in 8th grade. So she is now a senior, and she's driving, which is fantastic.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So she can take him. He's a sophomore. They can drive together. She's got a parking space. It works out swimmingly until she gets a passion for anatomy, and she wants to pursue like something in the
Like
medical
a
field.
certain person's anatomy or the class anatomy?
She just starts talking about it. Then she decides that she's going to register for the class anatomy. And the only time they have it is a little thing they call 0 period. So she gets to school now early.
Yeah.
At 7:30, and he of course doesn't have to be there till 8:30. So now the convenience factor that I enjoyed for almost 4 days is gone, but that's okay.
Yeah,
because I'm sure it'll be fine. He'll be 16 soon and can drive himself. We'll just have
true
to.
enough.
I mean, all we
enough.
need to do is purchase another car. No big deal.
He could go early and study. I'm sure that he would love that.
Or eat a bagel.
Or eat a bagel.
You know, there's options. So we're working that out.
That's interesting though that your school starts late because I think in Alaska it starts at 7:30 when I used to have to haul children around.
Like do you know my middle schooler, her middle school starts at 8:50.
Oh, geez.
Isn't that insane?
Half the day's gone.
That's what I'm saying. And on Wednesdays, they get out early. So she goes from 8:50 to 2:10 on Wednesdays.
Wow. That is like half the day. You can't do much.
Well,
you might as well just go home and take a nap. You might as well just drop them off, go home and take a nap, and then pick them up.
Or just wait in the parking lot.
What else can you do?
You can't do much. You really can't
do much.
Errands very far. So, these are not huge problems. So I will roll with it. And what's the saying? The days drag on, but the years fly by. I'm feeling that now that my oldest is a senior.
Yeah.
So that's becoming obvious, but I'm here for it. Like I love the idea of progression, and like their dad and I talk all the time. We have tried our best to just instill some qualities in this individual where they can jump out of the eagle's nest.
They're going to do better than you think they are. Like when you have them in the house, you're like focusing on, you focus on their greatness, but then you worry about stuff as you do when they're out of the house. But they still do better than you think, right? They excel in their own way.
Yes. And I also think it's maybe expectation too, because I'm expecting that they are not going to do their laundry and it's just going to be
exactly
dishes. And so they're expecting that I'll expect that. And it's almost like that's how we roll. Those are our roles. So we need some time apart to grow, and change. Yes.
Yes. Well, when my 17-year-old who's in boarding school, when he rolls on back home, because he's home for just such a short amount of time, my expectations of his like picking up after himself and such there are none.
Does he do his own laundry back at school?
Yeah, he has to do everything when he's at school. And they have room checks. Like he has to do everything. The food's horrible, so he has to like figure out how to rummage around and find good food.
These are life skills.
Yeah, so good at rummage. He's a hunter. Well, he doesn't hunt because he doesn't eat meat, but
a gatherer.
He's a gatherer. He's a gatherer, and then wants to mix it in with his oat milk.
Perfect. And you know what? These are solid skills. I had to rummage around this morning when I was hungry and gather some things.
It's true enough.
Put together just some sustenance.
It's true enough. That's so true. Okay, we got to talk about something real today.
Yes.
Okay, so as of late, I don't know why, but I'll say like the last 4 months, the client, not every client, but the client, okay, starting in January, so the last 7 months, not every client, but a big percentage of my clients are really struggling with, well, struggling is not the right word, but they are at this point in their life where they are either having to help a partner cross over, they're having to help a parent cross over. There's like these major stuff. And it's not like it's like this surprise. It's like they have the diagnosis, they know it's coming, maybe it's old age, sometimes it's the diagnosis, but they're like, help me, walk me through this. And even at the at the very end, still wanting help, walk me through this. And it's like, that it's such a heavy thing. But it also reminds me of the word surrender, because
sure.
Look at when we cross over, we're surrendering. We are letting go, right? Like, and we just have to. There's no. I guess we can hold on, but it doesn't. Right? It doesn't matter.
No.
So it's like I really think it's like for the people that are with their loved ones, being able to surrender and let them show them how they want to die. And it's so hard because, like the one person that I'm thinking of right now, she really and it's not just her, but so many of them have a different plan, right? They want the death to occur differently. They want it, right? And so it's so hard to surrender to your loved one who they have planned this death. It is their death. It's their final thing. And it's like, it's going to happen the way they want it. There can be some interventions beforehand, but it's going to happen the way they want it. And it's totally. It's such a lesson in surrendering and trusting the process.
Completely. And you have to have faith. And like you said, it's happening. Like, this is not something that we can prevent. It's happening. So get on board and support it. When when you're talking, I was thinking about this concept too. When my grandpa, so my mom's dad, when he was very sick and it became obvious that he was passing and he was on hospice.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And so he's in the bed in the hospital, and my mom and her brother were there. And my mom went to go take a shower back at the hotel, and the brother stepped out to take a phone call. And that is when Grandpa chose to die.
Don't you love that?
I do. I feel like he was such a supportive father, and very much felt obligated to be there for them, that it's on brand with him that he until they weren't there, so he could sneak away, and that way they wouldn't see it happening.
I love that. You know what's interesting? One of the people that is in one of the psychic classes, she said, and it was very touching, because I don't think she had a very good relationship with her mom. And so probably 4 years before her mom crossed over, she was like in a store or something and looked over at her mom and saw her mom, was like, oh, I'm going to remember this. Like, I'm going to remember who she is, how her energy is, and this I'm going to remember. And it was just like it was a moment that's not any more meaningful that, they were in a grocery store or something. But what she said is, like, when it came time for her mom to cross over, and I think she was like diagnosed with something on a Thursday and ended up crossing over on a Tuesday. So it was pretty quick. But she said, my mom taught me how to die, because her mom did it with such grace and did it on her own terms. I guess more than grace, it was on her own terms. And she's like, my mom taught me how to die, because her mom totally did it on her own terms, did it completely different than what the doctors were suggesting or predicting or whatever. Like, her mom died on her own terms. And I thought, what a beautiful thing to say, my mom taught me how to die.
Yes. Your mom can teach a lot of things, and you never anticipate that lesson being one of them.
True enough.
You go out and find a lesson, pay attention. Do I have your attention? Here's how you do it.
True enough. I mean, who's going to think that, right?
Yeah.
But that was
amazing.
Yeah, it was very, very touching, because on the flip side of that, somebody else that was in the class was like, oh my God, my mom's, her mom's death was so horrific, not horrific like in gore. It was just like not, it wasn't like, her mom was, I think, might have been a hoarder. I think was that type. So it was that type of situation.
Yeah.
And so she looks at that type of situation because her mom was a hoarder and everything was a disaster. And so she looks at it as like, okay, I did not, I saw how I don't want it to go.
Which sometimes the lesson is, oh, I won't be doing it like that.
I'm going to start getting rid of all the stuff in my house because
I don't need anything.
That's not going down. Okay, so I just wanted to share, because there's so many different ways when we think of surrendering. There's so many things to surrender to, right? And so when we talk about, so Kristen, when you think of the word surrender, what is it?
So I think of a couple different components. I think of surrendering to me is like the ultimate goal. But there's got to be a few components that help you feel comfortable and successfully surrender. So you've got to have faith that what you're surrendering to is all going to be okay. And then sometimes you just need some patience. Like you have to just not be like, okay, now go. It has to be the faith that it's all going to be okay. It's going to unfold how it is. You have to be aware and just observe what's going on and be in the moment, be very present with what's happening. And then a deep belief in all that is good, which, I know I'm okay. I know it's all going to be all right. I know no matter how deep we go here, how crazy it feels, that on the other side of this, all is well. Yeah. So with all those like kind of on board, then I think surrendering becomes like a very doable thing, which initially it sounds like we always feel like we're giving up power when we surrender. But I think the truth is we're pretty powerless ultimately. And that's a hard concept to wrap our heads around. Like, I mean, you got power up into a certain point, and then you got to just trust that all is going to be okay.
It's so interesting because you're right. I mean, we do have power up to a certain point. We can manifest, we can blah, blah, blah. But you're right. Even with manifesting, you still have to surrender to the process. You still have to surrender to, it's not like we're going out, like say I want a new car. It's not like I'm going out and building that new car. It's like I'm putting it out there and I just have to surrender to the process of how it arrives. And that's so interesting because we are powerful, but we're powerful also in our ability to surrender.
Yes. You know what it reminds me of? And the most basic analogy is going out to dinner and you decide you're going to go, you get all fancied up, you get in your car, you get there, like you took control on all that. You know what time you're going, you sit down, maybe you choose your table, you get the menu, you take power in picking it. But then after you order it, you are trusting somebody's back there preparing this amazingness for you. And it'll come out when it's ready, not too soon, not too late. Yeah. But you just have to trust, like, this is all going to work out in my favor.
Yeah, it's so true. And there's so many ways of surrendering. I mean, and I think, my book, The Lazy Girl's Guide to High Vibrational Living, which I'll have it done by January. Where are we at? Yeah, I'll have it done by January. But it's all about surrender, right? Because to be lazy, my version of lazy is surrendering to the process, surrendering to that which is higher than us, surrendering. But on point with what you said, I think it's like we have to be aware of what we're surrendering to. Like, okay, is it like, say we're just, processing a bunch of stuff in our life, a bunch of like, we're going through something, it's a transformation. Okay, are we surrendering to the process and surrendering to the feelings? Like, I think it's important to recognize, what are you surrendering to?
Oh yeah, for sure. Is it ultimately, I think inevitably it's to a higher power. Yeah. And you're just acknowledging like God or whatever we're calling it has your back. The universe has your back. But everything in life is about thought and goals and action steps, and don't be lazy. Like, you got to work hard. You got to have hard
laziness
work
is good.
Yeah.
If you're surrendering.
Right?
Yeah.
But surrendering is, I think, an action step.
It
like
is.
It's lazy is just like laying on the couch doing nothing, thinking nothing, and no purpose. Surrendering isn't like a slothful vibe. It's very much, and because sometimes, depending on how you roll, if you're so like a control freak and you're just like, I'm going to do this and that, surrendering can be the ultimate difficult action step.
Absolutely.
Completely. I have so many friends that refer to themselves as OCD, and for them to surrender, for them to just take a step back and be like, you know what, I'm going to let the house cleaners clean the house today, without like prepping for them, that is so hard for them. And I'm like, you know what? I got this. I'm going to surrender.
I think most people prep for the housekeepers.
Yeah, that was a poor comparison. But you know what I mean?
I guess it's how much prepping you do. Do you fully clean the house before they roll in there?
And then just welcome them for tea? Or do you just pick up the dirty socks? Like, what are we doing here?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Sometimes, like, surrendering does take a lot of faith, and it takes a lot of effort, especially on my part. Like, it's hard for me to surrender. I want to do, and so not doing and surrendering it is hard.
Yes. Okay, so it's like, we can say that there's some intention with the surrendering, like being intentional of what you're surrendering with or to, and even how am I surrendering to this? So for example, if it's something where you're processing a bunch of, you're going through stuff and you're processing, when we process stuff and a bunch of emotions and past stuff bubbles up to the surface, are we going to surrender to it and feel it and just let it float away? Or are we going to push it away? So that's like a prime example of surrendering to your feelings, surrendering to the experience. Because even like to be in the moment, you have to surrender to the moment.
Yes. Ooh, that's a deep one. I like what you've done here. Yes, you do. Otherwise, it's whatever the difficult emotion or vibe comes to the surface during the moment, whatever the difficulty is in it, if you squash it back down, it is only going to fester and So it's
so what I was going to say, there's so much intentional surrendering. Like, it's kind of a fun practice, like to go through the day and be like, okay, what can I surrender to here? What is there, what could I feel more? What could I experience more? What can I experience, or what can I surrender to? But in those, going back to the idea of when people really do talk about surrendering to, because typically it's like you're surrendering to the transformation or surrendering to whatever's going down. And you're having all these feelings. I actually like to have, so if you imagine you're surrendering to something, and it's just like this cascade of emotions, like just, like this waterfall of emotions that can just take you away, right? Because that's the fear, is you're surrendering and you're losing control, you're being taken away, and it's like, where the hell am I being taken to, right? What am I going to experience next? So if you are in that place and the surrendering is really, it's like, if it's this very emotional experience and you are surrendering to, and you're just feeling everything. I love the idea of having like a life buoy, I love the idea of having like safety bumpers on your journey. You're surrendering, but you still have these safety bumpers. So for example, if somebody's going through something that is really emotionally turbulent, and they're like, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to process it, I'm going to put this to bed. Let a friend know. Let them know, I'm dealing with this. This is heavy. And you can even say, can you check in with me tomorrow? Because I'm really going to be focusing on this. Like, have a few things in place that are kind of like your safety checks, and even have for yourself, like say you don't feel like you want to share this with a friend, although hopefully you can. But if you don't, have like a life coach, have somebody that you can be like, I'm working on this. If I feel like I'm getting in over my head with emotions and with stuff that's coming up, can I call you? So come up with some ways that where you feel like you can stay safe in the emotional waters.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Like that's the best advice, because then it doesn't feel so scary.
Yeah.
Like the bumpers. It's just
Yeah.
it keeps you in check, keeps you safe, and
Yeah.
makes you know I got this. This is a difficult task, but I'm safe to do it, and there's support. I'm not
Yeah.
alone. For
Because
sure.
even, when we go into some, like journey meditations, like meditations where your awareness really shifts, even in those, it hasn't happened very much with me. But even with that, I always like to feel, well, I always like to remind myself, hey, I'm in control. I can always bring myself back. But even with those, like sometimes, like some of the meditations I do with people, I remind them, like, if you ever get to a place in the meditation, if you're surrendering to the meditation and you ever get to a place that's kind of like, wow, I haven't been here before, I'm not sure if I want to go farther, then that's your safety bumper.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You can always stop, press pause, and
Yeah.
reevaluate, make sure all is well. Yeah.
And quite frankly, I mean, whether we're surrendering to a relationship and seeing how far it goes, even with that, have your safety bumper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, when am I going to check in?
Yes.
Like, at what point am I going to check in and pause and see that I'm okay and I'm going to continue on this surrendering path?
Yes, because the priority is you and your personal well-being and health. And
Yes.
then once that's okay, then you feel strong enough to do the surrendering and to go out on the journey
Yes.
and heal.
Yeah.
But the self-checks are important to go back in and say, okay, how is that feeling? How did that resonate with me? Do I need a moment to regroup, or am I ready to take it further?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, so you can do this with journaling, but I love the idea of people having, different ways of having these safety checks. Different, have somebody you can talk to, do your journaling, just do different ways of checking in and seeing how am I handling this process of surrendering to this experience? How am I process to surrendering all the emotions that are coming up? Because you and I both know that there can be things occurring in our life. It's not just like we're surrendering Tuesday afternoon. We can be in a place where we're having to really process and do some deep work. And it might last for a bit.
It might last. You could end the sentence there. You know what? At this point, you never know. And that's okay if it does, because expectations have to be almost thrown out the window. Yeah. And you just have faith that this is going to last as long as it needs to, so that I can evolve into my higher self. And when you keep the focus on this is for the greater good, then the discomfort is worth it. But it's hard to do that, for sure.
And maybe that's the point, is like, if we're surrendering to something, also have an idea, like my goal, the reason why I am doing this, why am I no longer going to fight this? Like, really come up with clarity. Why am I surrendering? Who am I surrendering to? What am I surrendering to?
Yeah.
And then have you see these things. Yeah.
Too, is like when we were typically, a parent might say to a child, not like a mystical mom who wants the child to feel all the feels, but like just parenting, and you're quick about it, and you're like, well, you'll be fine. Like, quiet down. And it's very much about shove the emotion down. Like, I know you're upset, but we're in the store right now, so just swallow that down. And then maybe we forget to follow up in the car, like, oh, how are you feeling in the produce aisle? What was talk to me? It's just, oh no, choke it down and be quiet, and you'll be fine. And you're not sad, just because it's hard to watch.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine hearing you're not sad?
Yes. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be fine. I'm sure I've said that, way too many times. But to tell somebody how they feel, like how they are feeling or not feeling, oh my goodness, that is insane.
It's big. And it just plants that seed that I'm not going to feel this. I'm going to choke it down and try to change it or just hide it or
And
not.
my feelings aren't real.
Yes. So,
because, yeah, that's crazy.
and learning that as a youngster and then battling that belief, like there's a lot to unpack when it comes to surrendering. It's a big,
okay, since you brought this up, I'm on well, I'll just share. I'm on a significant healing journey right now. And so I
love this for you.
Maybe 8 years ago, I was on a healing journey, in particular supporting one of our children. But I was like, okay, this is a healing journey it's like I picked 3 months, the summer, all the kids were home out of school. This is, I think, like 8 years ago. And I was like, okay, this summer is focused on healing, in particular one child. We're doing it. We are doing this. And so now, 8 years later, or however long it is, I'm like, okay, the focus is on me and I'm healing. And I've like embarked on so many avenues of healing. But one of the things, okay, so let me just share this. I am fully aware that, let me take 2 steps back. My next blog is literally about this. Like, my upper chakras, I'm sure, are, because the last 10, 15 years of my life have all been about spirituality, right? Mm-hmm. And my lower chakras, because I'm out hiking or running or whatever, or, outside on the ground, I stay grounded, but my lower chakras are the part that I feel like I have a lot of subconscious stuff that just needs to be broken down, released, just let go. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I really am like, I'm fully aware of the stuff that came from my family of origin that has affected my marriage. And, like, I'm not that person. I can't be that person anymore. But I have to like rewire all this stuff in my head. And so I have to be like so intentional about what I have to release. So all this subconscious stuff that I have to release it. I have to rewire.
So how are you because to me, subconscious is very challenging to tap into. So how are you identifying what you need to release? Are you just meditating, or is it very easy for you to identify it?
Well, it's easy because I've known it for so long, Kristen, but I wasn't ready to deal with it. Believe me, I have known this for, most of my adult life, but I was not ready to deal with it. And now I'm like, I'm 57 years old. I better be ready to deal with it, because it's so weird. It's almost like I chose this time because it's right before my second Saturn return. Seriously, it's almost like I chose this time and I'm like, okay, I literally am like, if I say this is my year for healing, this is my year for healing. But it's all that subconscious stuff that I know I was packing around. Yeah. And you know what? I interviewed healer yesterday, like, that I would hire for, the price of a small car. Oh, yes. And she works in subconscious stuff. I didn't like it. She was like so abrasive. Well, for me, she was abrasive. And then the other thing, part of it is you get individual work and then you do a little bit of group therapy. And her quote unquote words was, you go in the hot seat. And I'm like,
that sounds very uncomfortable.
That does not sound like what I want to pay for.
Like, immediately I'm anxious.
Yeah, right. And so that's the thing, is like, I think you have to find the right modalities, the right people. And also, like, I'm doing some of the work myself, but I guess I brought this up because I'm still in the exploring stage of, I believe we can heal ourselves. Like, I don't think we have to hire a healer to do it for us. Like, I believe we have the ability. I believe we can connect with God, with source, our angels, guides. We can heal ourselves. But there's some reason that we hold on to whatever suffering or crap it is, right? And we have to get to that reason. and we have to feel safe at that reason. And that's the point of releasing it.
Yes.
And so a lot of it we do have to do on our own.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's nice, like sometimes it's, well, I mean, it's more than an accountability partner, but it's someone like keeps you on track and maybe throws out a couple of different avenues to get there that you hadn't thought of. But I feel like energy healers like that are just somewhat coaches or suggestion givers, and that truly you take what they tell you and then you marinate on it and see how it feels, because you're going to translate it into whatever way. Like getting on the hot seat, some people love that kind of attention and being called out. I would rather bury my head in the sand. Like, I don't want to be on a hot seat. I don't want to be held accountable for my wrongdoings in front of a crowd. Like, Judgment Day does not sound fun to me. But I appreciate one-on-one attention and little tips and tricks on how I can be a better person.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is like everybody's different. Like I have no problem with accountability. Like after I decide I'm going to do something, it's like, you know, there's nothing that's going to stop me from that.
Yeah.
And so putting me on the hot seat is not going to serve me, because it's not like I call myself lazy, but I'm also extremely accountable. And so like, there's no doubt in my mind that I will get through this.
Oh, for
How
sure.
easy is it going to be? It hasn't proven to be so easy, if I can be so honest with you.
Thus far, the easiest.
Thus far, I've had days that have really, oh my God, they've been challenging.
But in the end, you're going to be like, whew, boy, was that a doozy of a life chapter in my book.
Yeah.
And I am so glad I'm on the other side of that. And
Yeah.
I feel like this experience is putting you in a place of healing and opportunity that you're navigating through. So on the other side of it, you'll have another bit of toolbox to use when you're coaching people, and it'll give you that relation. Like you can totally, you're like, I know what you're saying. It's going to be hard, but you're going to get through it because it's doable.
Absolutely. And it's funny because, I work as a psychic, and if you work as a psychic, you're basically surrendering, right? Because you're not going to receive any information unless you're surrendering.
That's true.
Yeah. And so that's why I can say I'm lazy. I can just sit there and receive. I love being lazy. But with this, there's this aspect of being lazy enough for me to receive the healing of God, to let go of my fears, to let go of my old patterns and beliefs, which astrologically, this is like the perfect time to do it also. It has been this year. But it's like, so you do have to surrender, but you also have to have that intention. You have to have that intention. You have to have that faith. You have to manifest the releasing of the old habits, the old fears, oh my gosh, it's a circus.
And you know what it is? Like, just listening to you say that, in my mind, I'm reminded of our last couple shows, the moon cycle, and how really it's an opportunity to take inventory of what have I been manifesting? What am I, keeping at the forefront of my thoughts? What am I trying to get rid of? All of that, you've just taken it to the next step, being intentional about it and being precise about what you're letting go. So it's still very much about a strategy on how to live and how to move forward.
It totally is. And I know we're running out of time because we're going to do cards, but it's really interesting because there are so many people that are healers. You can do past life regression, you can do blah, blah, it's limitless in terms of like what you're going to do to release these patterns, habits, thoughts. And so really finding, I guess if anybody's out there that's, okay, well, and here's the other thing, again, because I'm lazy, I don't want anything too complicated. Like, I don't want, I really do believe we can just be like, think it, allow it. But if there's anybody out there listening that they really have had some great luck with a modality, like whether it's past life regression or something like that, let us know, because I think it's I think if people are ready for change and being aware of our subconscious thoughts, our subconscious beliefs, like what you said, Kristen, like if you were raised and you were told you're not sad, right? Then you move through your life and you're not going to show anybody your sadness, and you would feel shame for feeling sad. And so to like really come up with this stuff, and maybe it's time for your healing. Maybe this is your year for healing. I don't know. Join me on my healing journey.
The more, the merrier.
Let's shift the collective. Okay, let's pull cards for the week. You can go, because I was rambling and I saw you were shuffling.
I was shuffling. Okay, so I have a deck of cards called the Tarot of Light. For me, I love a good angel and just ball of light in the mix. All right, I'm going to try to find my camera. It is the Knight of Trees. So custodian, and I feel like this is very much like you're trying to clean things up. You're trying to really take hold of what your dreams are, and then go through those and clean out anything that doesn't feel like it's helping with your dream. To me, the card looks like you're holding a dream and you're recognizing the roots, and you're just taking a moment to like go inward and meditate on what the dream is, what is helping to make that dream come true, and what aspects are happening right now that don't allow this growth of your dream. And then I get a big vibe of patience. Like this looks like someone who is happy to just sit and contemplate and patiently await their dream.
What a cool concept, though, the custodian of dreams. Which we all are. That's such a beautiful way of expressing that. The custodian of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And I like that you just said we all are, because we are. There's our power. Like, clean up your dream. What are you? And I tell my kids all the time, the one thing you can control are your thoughts. Like when you start daydreaming or stare at TikTok or something, like these thoughts are affecting you, whether you know it or not. They're affecting your vibe, they're subliminal messages. Like, why not just take a moment and control your thoughts? Think about things that you're grateful for, things that you want to bring into your life, and then this is our biggest challenge, try not to think. And they'll be like, what? Like, I'm like, remove all thoughts from your head. And then that's like, it is kind of fun for them to be like, what?
But just think about TikTok, because you know how it's like the power of suggestion, the power of what we tell ourselves, which is why I like affirmative prayer. But I don't personally watch TikTok, or use TikTok, whatever the proper way of saying that is. But think how powerful it is, because people could just hold it and just watch all sorts of crap all day long. And it's just like short, isn't it the theme of it is short, powerful messages?
Yes.
Okay, so you have these short, powerful, impactful messages, just whoop, 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 whoop. And so that's what you're getting that's crazy. Instead of getting like stepping back and receiving something so much bigger than that. So interesting.
I feel like it's affecting a generation and really robbing them of their ability and opportunity to contemplate. Like, I remember laying in bed and just thinking, and there was no like impulses or no like, thoughts planted in to guide my mind. I was just daydreaming. And that's when you connect and receive your intuition at the deepest.
Yeah. What a different life.
Oh, dude, for sure. I'm not saying better. I'm just saying different.
Yeah. I mean, I think if your kids do sports, at least at that point, they're unwired, right? If they have to go work out for 2 hours, train for 2 hours a day, and they're unwired and they're running, swimming, whatever.
Yeah.
They're in that zone and they're just receiving. Yeah. I mean, anyhow, just that's off the topic, off the whatever. Okay. So I chose the beautiful, it kind of goes with the energy of citrine, but it's the illuminator.
Okay.
And I believe that perhaps the energy of this card for this week is illuminating your dreams, illuminating the pathway to your dreams, reminding you like it's so that you can connect with them again, feel them again, know them again. The wisdom behind your dreams. You had this innate wisdom that brought you to the discovery of your dreams. And maybe that's where you are, is like is like rediscovering your dreams, why you had them. And maybe they've shifted a little bit. But guess what? Guess what this is enhanced by? Da, 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 the good luck.
Oh, I love that.
I know. And you know what? I on one of my readings yesterday, because I usually pull a few cards at the end, she got the luck card twice. And then here it is again. So
I
it
love
must
that
be a
for all of
really
us.
flippin' lucky week.
You know what? I feel that yesterday I felt incredibly lucky, and there was no experience in my life that made me feel that way. I just had this really like, when you're just overwhelmed with like happy,
Yeah,
and
love it.
and everything just rolls smooth. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I didn't win the lottery, but my
Yeah.
day was rolling. Like everything
Yeah.
was so smooth and everybody was so happy. And I just felt like, what a good day. What a lucky day.
And so why does that happen, right? There, you know that there's like, well, anyhow, I believe that there's like ribbons of energy. There's like, ribbons of energy that we can connect to. And you know how like when we do like the group meditations, I like to imagine, okay, we're pulling all that energy, those group meditation prayers, we're releasing it out. It's being released through eternity. It's touching everybody that needs it. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe you were touched by a prayer yesterday.
You know what? I'm going to take that. I love that. I love that for me.
I love that for you also. And then you radiate that beautiful energy. I love that.
Yes.
Love that. Okay. What are you surrendering to this week?
I am surrendering to my schedule, and just like that everything's going to be done in a timely manner, and that I don't have to micromanage, because I have faith that my roommates can all handle their responsibilities.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good one, is surrendering. Well, I'm going to surrender to the unknown. I have to surrender to that, because that's kind of what I struggle with that a little bit right now with what's going on in my life. Like it's the weirdest thing. And we'll talk more about this, but I've never in my life have I been at a place where, because I kind of have this big thing going on in this healing, and never in my life have I been in a place where it's difficult for me to say 6 months from now, this is what I will have. And I have really some good things happening, but it's so difficult. It's the weirdest thing for me, Kristen, while I'm blowing everything up. It's so difficult, literally blowing everything up. It's so like all these patterns, old beliefs. It's so difficult for me to say, if I'm releasing all these old patterns, all these beliefs and craziness, what is there for me in 6 months? And it's the craziest thing. I've never been like this before, because I love to plan. I love to pick something. And so I was just thinking yesterday, the one thing that I know will keep me moving forward is, and I know this sounds funny, but picking like a half marathon. And then I know that I have that, and I kind of train for it. And I know that's funny, but that's something that's really easy for me to kind of keep in the back of my mind and say, okay, I have this. I'm going to just like go out and do my trotting.
But it's so good, that like you've got your coping skill. This is how
it is my coping skill, because I've got to tell you, the weirdest place to be as you dismantle patterns, thoughts, and beliefs to see what is it going to look like in 6 months. Crazy, not like me.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see you in 6 months.
So I have to surrender to it. I have to surrender to the unknown.
You do.
Oh, okay, we have to go. But quickly, where do we find out more about you?
GaragePilates.net, or follow on Instagram. Follow us, truth.wellness.psychic. Polly?
Perfect. Okay, you can find me on my website, pollywirum.com. You can find my writing on Your Tango and on Eden Magazine.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kristen. And I'm so excited, because who knows I know the future holds many blessings. That much I do. I do know that.
Countless
miracles. Hallelujah.
Bless you all.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.